Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. In recent years, organizations like the Nonhuman Rights Project have sought to obtain legal personhood for animals like chimpanzees and elephants. These cases have failed so far, but they seem to be gaining momentum and unfortunately even sympathy, not just in the general culture, but even within the legal system. Joining me to talk about this is my friend Wes Smith, Chair and Senior Fellow at the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism. Wes, so great to speak with you. How are you?
Fine, Marcus. I hope you're well.
I am very well. I'm not quite well about this particular issue, but I am well.
Tell me about it. I feel your pain.
But, there's really... Okay, so let's particularly highlight this issue, but it really opens that grander question of human exceptionalism that you and I constantly talk about. So let's focus here. Let's share with our listeners what's going on. Chimpanzees and whether they are quote-unquote persons.
Yeah, what this is about is known as animal standing, and there's been a long tradition or a long effort on the part of animal rights activists, which... And by the way, animal rights must be distinguished from animal welfare. They're not the same thing at all. Animal rights is an ideology that says humans and animals are moral equals. Animal welfare understands that humans are, higher than animals, but we have obligations to treat them humanely. But this animal standing issue, which is being brought by animal rights activists, seeks to allow animals to actually bring lawsuits in court in their own names. Of course, the names have been given by humans, but let's not go there for the moment. And the Nonhuman Rights Project has filed lawsuits in New York State, in Colorado, in Hawaii, and I just found out, I haven't had a chance to look at it, in Pennsylvania. And the animals that they have sought to get what's called a writ of habeas corpus, that is to free the body. So if a human being is illegally confined, a writ of habeas corpus requires that human being be freed. The Nonhuman Rights Project seeks to apply that to animals. So basically animal husbandry will become a form of illegal confinement. And the animals that they are using are elephants and chimpanzees.
So is there a reason why there's a particular focus on what we would ostensibly consider apes, that particular category?
Yeah, and elephants. It's because they are probably, in the natural world, along with dolphins, have the highest intelligence. They're social animals. They have a lot of empathy and sympathy from people, and that's why they're doing it. But the interesting thing about all this is it's completely nonsensical, because the Nonhuman Rights Project and the whole idea of animal standing is, well, we get a writ of habeas corpus that frees the animal. No, it doesn't. It just transfers control of that animal to the Nonhuman Rights Project. And then they'll do with that animal which they decide, which they keep saying they'll put them into like elephant sanctuaries or chimpanzee sanctuaries. But the chimps or the elephants still won't be free. And the Hawaiian Supreme Court, by the way, has taken a case regarding elephants. And what's really scary is in New York State, an elephant named Happy, which was kept at the Bronx Zoo, was the subject of one of these lawsuits. And two judges of the highest court in New York, the Court of Appeals, which is like the Supreme Court of New York, would have granted the writ of habeas corpus and would have claimed that the elephant is a person. And in the Colorado case, one judge did the same thing, and Michigan, also. So it's they're going to different states looking for that one court that wants to make history. And you and I know, based on a lot of weird jurisprudence over the last 50 years, that's not a bad bet.
So, as we're rightly following these issues, it's clear that they're looking for something to cause a legal precedent.
Yes, to have a legal precedent, and then it's called breaking the species barrier. Once you decide that animals are persons and can go into court, just imagine the mischief that well-funded animal rights lawyers can make. having lawsuits brought by, quote, animals, close quote. Of course, it's really going to be the animal rightists. The animals will be oblivious, to try to force animal rights ideology onto the country through the sheer force of court order.
I want to ask what the end of it is, but you and I both know what the end of it is. So maybe you could just speak directly to it, the entire drive of attacking the very concept of human exceptionalism.
Well, it seeks to, knock human beings off the pedestal of exceptionalism, which is a terrible mistake, because human exceptionalism is the foundation of universal human rights. It's the foundation of Western civilization. It comes out of Judeo-Christian moral beliefs, also Greek and so forth, and it says that each and every human being has equal moral value simply and merely because we're human. We don't have to earn our rights by having particular capacities. That comes objectively with the territory. If you decide that some animals are persons based on capacity, suddenly the concept of personhood shifts and becomes something that is earned through having capacities. And as the animal rights activists and many in bioethics constantly say, well, not every human being, for example, let's say, has the capacity to be self-aware over time, or not every human being has the ability to assume moral responsibilities. That means not every human being is a person. Well, if not every human being is a person, that means we can exploit them and depress them. And that's why animal rights activists, and in these cases, these elephant and chimp cases, they write about, and the judges that agreed with them, that I mentioned before, write about the treatment of chimps as if the same thing had been done to human beings. But that's a complete misnomer. Treating human beings differently from each other and oppressing them is evil, because you're treating inherent equals unequally. But animal husbandry properly treats unequals unequally. And to say that what we do to an animal should be dealt with as if the same thing had been done to a human is to totally destroy the distinction between us and fauna. And that goes into very bad places. And then also, as you know, it'll add into flora because of the nature rights movement. And even geological features. Rivers have been declared persons. So we're in a very irrational age, and an age that is very misanthropic.
One of the things you and I have discussed in the past about this misanthropy is that we as a collective culture, especially in the West, for some reason at some point completely cast out an objective definition of what it means to be a human, let alone a person. Can you please speak to that and how that's affecting, in this case, the legal sphere?
Yeah, I don't think we've completely cast it out, but I think that's where the contest is at the moment. Mm-hmm. And right now the energy, and I think there's an awful lot of money, is with the animal rights activists and the nature rights activists. Did you know there are more than 100 law schools teaching animal rights law? They're just waiting for that court to open up the door. So, and you've got tremendous funding for that. And what you'll end up having is a situation in which animal industries will be unable to operate, because, just as one example, how do you get liability insurance if the animals that you own, which you wouldn't be able to own anymore, could sue you? It would turn the entire culture upside down, topsy-turvy, and that's the intent. You don't see these kinds of things being brought in Africa. You don't see them being brought in Islamic countries. You certainly don't see it being brought in China. This is a way to undermine and destroy the moral cohesion of the West.
The push towards the recognition of the personhood of these, and we're out of time, Wes. Wes, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us. As usual, this is salient and necessary. Thank you for doing this work.
Well, thank you for having me on and understanding what I'm about, because I think it's really important. And the reason why these folks are advancing so far is that too many people do not take it seriously.
My guest has been Wes Smith, Chair and Senior Fellow at Discovery Institute Center for Human Exceptionalism. We're talking about the Michigan court thinking about chimpanzees as persons. I'm Marcus Peter.